Chapter 18, Section 3. A person who prays should picture himself as if the divine presence is resting before him. As Eicha Ecclesiastes states, pour out your heart like water in the presence of God. He should arouse his concentration and remove any thoughts that bother him until his thoughts and his concentration are purified for prayer. He should meditate on how, were he to be standing before a monarch of flesh and blood, he would truly order his statements and concentrate upon them so as not to err. Surely this applies when standing before the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He. In His presence, one must concentrate his thoughts, for before God, blessed be He, thought is the same as speech, and He probes all our thoughts. So we have to, if I stand before a king, I definitely, surely will be careful the way I speak and make sure I concentrate. Don't allow anything else to bother me. How much more so with in front of God, the King of Kings. And in addition, God knows what goes through our mind. Before prayer, one should meditate on the exaltedness of God, blessed be His name, and the insignificance of man, and remove the desire for all human pleasures from one's heart. And that's why you do the 3 steps, as I think he's going to talk about, to be able to remind us how important it is now to concentrate, because we're about to speak before the king. Number 4, a person who prays should concentrate in his heart on the meanings of the words he recites. As Psalm states, direct the hearts, your ear shall hear. Many Sidurim with translations of the prayers in Yiddish, the vernacular, have already been printed, and thus any person can learn and comprehend the meanings of the prayers he recites. Those who speak Hebrew very fluently and they read the prayers, on many occasions the words are so very difficult words that they wouldn't be able to understand. Any prayer comes to mind, even not the Aramaic prayer like Brich Shmei, which is in Yakum Pukan, which is in Aramaic, and those who speak Hebrew have no clue what it means. But even just the simple words like Aderet ve'amuna lechaya olamim, Abina ve'abracha, these are Hebrew words, but how are they connected to God and what they mean is very difficult to comprehend. But today that we have the translation, the English, you can always refer to the English translation, and you have a very clear understanding what you're saying. At the very least, a person who cannot concentrate on the meaning of the words of prayer should think about matters that humble the heart and direct it to his Father in heaven during his prayer. If an undesirable thought occurs to him in the midst of prayer, he should remain silent and wait until the thought ceases. So if something goes through my mind, a business affair, how should I call somebody, what I have to do, stop what you're saying. Allow yourself to change the thinking process and start thinking about God and then continue. Number 5, you should position his feet one next to the other as if they are only one. That's why in Amida we stand straight, both feet the same, as if it's one foot. In order to resemble the angels concerning whom Ezekiel states, and their feet were like a straight foot. Ezekiel, when he prophesied and he described the angels, he described that they were like 1 foot. There were no pair, there were no 2. So we want to be compared to angels, therefore we put our feet together. He should bend his head slightly downward and close his eyes so as not to look at any other matters. If he prays from a Siddur, he should not remove his eyes from the Siddur. He should place his hands on his heart, the right hand above the left hand. Always the right is above the left. So you don't put the left above the right. You put that's the way Code of Law tells us. You put your left hand, then your right hand, and then the right hand, and that's how you pray. Sometimes you see people pray like that, unless you have to hold the Siddur. A person should pray wholeheartedly with awe, fear, and humility, like a poor man standing at the doorway requesting a gift. He should pronounce the words with care and concentration. Each person should pray according to his nusach, whether Ashkenazic, Sephardic, or other, because the foundation of them all is in the peaks of holiness. However, he should not mix prayers from one nusach with those of another, because the words of each nusach are carefully counted in accordance with the mystical secrets of Kabbalah. One should not add to them or subtract from them. So no matter what nusach you pray, stick to it. You cannot mix the two. And therefore, if you come to a synagogue, and let's say they say the Kaddish the Sephardic way or the Hasidic way, and you pray your own prayer, you end up mixing up, and the counting of the words are not accurate. Number 6. One should take care to pray in a hushed tone, so that only he and not a colleague standing near him can hear what he is saying. As Samuel 1 states in regards to Hannah, only our lips were moving, however, our voice could not be heard. And from Hannah, we learn how to pray the Amidah. That's why it's called the silent prayer. You must utter the words. You cannot just read them with your heart. You must utter them with your lips. But the lips are moving. Make sure it's a hushed tone so nobody else hears it. Number 7, a person should not support himself, even to a slight degree, on any objects during the Shmona Esrei. If he is slightly ill, leniency may be observed, and he may pray while sitting or lying down, provided he can concentrate and his attention. So when we stand during the Amidah, we're not allowed to lean on anything. A person who is unable to recite his prayer verbally should at least think about them within his heart. Let's say he cannot speak, or he is in a place where he's not allowed to utter any words, and he will not be able to be anywhere else, so he can think about them in his heart. Number 8. During the Shmona Esrei prayers, a person should hold nothing in his hands. With the exceptions of a siddur or machzor, he should mark off the places from which he must pray in those texts, so that he will not have to search for them in the midst of his prayer. Again, in the ancient times, and when I grew up, that's the way it was. There was no money to print siddurim the way we have today, everything laid out for every prayer. So they would say to you, here, turn to page 24. For that part, turn to 72. So that, for example, Shabbat prayer, the Amidah, will not have the first 3 blessings because they are for the weekdays. So they will say to you, go to the weekday on this page, recite the first 3 blessings, then jump over here. Towards the end, from Modi and on, you go back to the weekday. So you have to have very clear understanding which pages to flip so that you don't start searching in the middle of prayer. Now, today that we have the iPhone or the smartphones and we can pray for them, we need to have it very clear so we don't have to start flipping and looking for different apps for different part of the prayers. There should not be anything between himself and the wall. As Isaiah relates, Ezekiel turned his face to the wall when he prayed to God. Nevertheless, an object is not regarded as separating one from the wall unless it is at least 10 handbreadths high and 4 handbreadths wide. A small object is not considered a separation. So when you stand to pray, make sure you stand next to the wall. Now, in our synagogue, that's why we have the pews. Part of the reason we have the pews, they are creating a wall, because otherwise it creates a problem when someone else stands in front of you when they pray. Even a large object is not considered a separation if it is permanently fixed in place, for example, a closet or cabinet. Another person is also not considered as forming a separation between the person and the wall. If there is no easy alternative, one need not be concerned with this matter, as long as one closes one's eyes or prays from a siddur, so that one's concentration will not be disturbed. So that's the reason we have to stand next to the wall. There is no disturbance. There is no in the middle of prayer. So one should not pray facing any picture. A person who happens to pray facing a tapestry or a picture should close his eyes. It is forbidden to pray facing a mirror even one's eyes are closed, because that's already compared to idol worship and as if he's praying to himself. So if that's why on the east side of the synagogue they do not put too many artwork, etc. So a person should concentrate on God and not on the tapestry or artwork. A person should not pray in an open place, like a field, when he is in a private place. The awe of the king falls upon him, and his heart is broken, and he becomes humble. Nevertheless, while on a journey and he has no other choice, it is permissible to pray in a field. However, if possible, one should pray among the trees. You need to have something, the barrier when you pray, not just in an open field, because it's hard to concentrate. And the reason he's bringing is also you don't speak to a king just like that in the middle of nowhere. But if you have no choice, at least find a tree, find a wall, something, and you stand next to it and pray.
Back to the wall business. Which wall are we talking about when we're standing here and just doing the Shemona
So he
Esrei?
said, if it's hard to find, don't.
No, but we're standing here, right, saying the Shemona Esrei. We talking about the wall in the front?
Yeah.
We're talking about the wall on the side.
The wall in the front.
Only the wall in the front.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Number 9. A person should not burp or yawn in the middle of Shemona Esrei. Others interpret gihuk, burping, as stretching out one's body and arms due to heaviness. To stretch out. You're not allowed to do it in Amidah. If, against his will, a person feels that it is necessary to do so, he should cover his mouth with his hands so that its opening will not be seen. Similarly, it is forbidden to spit. If spittle comes to a person's mouth and it upsets him to the extent that his concentration on his prayer is disturbed, he may release it into a handkerchief or a garment, not to the ground. If that disgusts him, he should lean to his left and spit behind himself. If he cannot spit behind himself, he should spit forward towards his left side. If that is impossible, he should spit towards his right. Okay? If a louse bites him, he should try to remove it while his hands are covered by his cloth. Use something to remove it, because otherwise, so that his attention will not be disturbed. However, he should not remove it with his hands, because after touching a louse, a person is required to wash one's hands in the middle of the Amidah. A louse is a lice.
Okay.
Singular for a lice.
A lice. Oh, okay.
So if something is, in other words, if you had scratches, you're not allowed to scratch your head in the middle of the davening, because if you scratch your head, you'll have to stop and go wash hands again. So but if you don't scratch, you can't concentrate. It drives you nuts. So what do? You use your garment. You use a garment to scratch. Should a person's talis slip off him, he may adjust it even though the majority of the talis has fallen. However, if it has fallen off entirely, it is forbidden to wrap oneself in it again, since that is considered as an interruption. So if I'm davening and the talis is falling off me, even if a little part of the talis remains on my body, I'm allowed to put it back. If the entire talis fell down, let's say I bent, or I bowed down, or I lifted my child and the talis fell off, not allowed to put it back. Not allowed to pick up a child in the middle of the Amidah. But if something happened, I bent down for moedim and the talis fell off and I didn't realize, not allowed to put it back, because putting it back is an interruption. It is a holy text. If a holy text fell to the ground before him and this disturbs his concentration, he may pick it up between one blessing and another. If a siddur or a page of the siddur fell down, wait till the end of the chapter, then you may pick it. All the acts forbidden during the Shemona Esrei remain forbidden until one takes 3 steps backwards at the conclusion of the prayers of supplication added after the Shemona Esrei. However, there is differences of opinion regarding making an interruption to respond to other prayers, as explained in laws 14 and 15. Should we stop here or do one more? Let's stop right here. We'll continue, God willing, next week, or if we build the sukkah, we'll do it in 2 weeks, God willing. Thank you so much.